we became very good friends. From there, we fell in love, obviously, and decided to settle down.
Hello everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of the Talaku Effect. As always, I'm your host, Claudel Kamgong, and this is the part 2 of the episode with Jonas. On the first part, we talk about Jonas' life in Accra, Ghana, his education, all the way to his MBA in Texas in the US. Now we're going to switch gears and talk about Jonas' personal life. So Jonas is a married man. So we can start by asking, how did you meet your wife, Bridget?
Thank you. Indeed, I met Bridget in Accra, Ghana. I met her in the U.S. Embassy, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she was in Ghana to renew her student visa because she was a grad student here in the U.S. in University of Pennsylvania. And at the time, I was also going for one of my work visas to come work on some projects here in the U.S. So as fate will have it, I see this nice-looking lady, and I really don't know where the confidence or the need to have a conversation came from. We just got into a conversation, and then I told her, hey, it was interesting speaking with you, and I'd want to continue that the conversation. I mean, how are we going to talk next? I know that was probably cunning on my part. And I didn't want her to turn me down because indeed, she sounded like a very interesting person to want to get to know. So she gave me her email address and her phone number here in the US. So she came in before me, before I did. I think I got into the U.S. A week after she was in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia to be specific, and I was in Houston, Texas. But hey, once I got to my hotel room, I just sent a quick email out. Hey, I'm here. Do you remember me? I'm the guy you met at the embassy who engaged you in that probably unwanted conversation. But anyway, I'm here again. I don't want to bug you, but how about I give you a call?
Nice.
So she replies and she's all laughing and it's like, hey, it's okay. Here's my number again. If you lost it, you can give me a call. And
Nice.
and that was how the friendship started building. We started talking from there, and at the time my project was over, I went over to Philadelphia to go meet her again, and it was quite pleasant, and we became very good friends. From there, we fell in love, obviously, and decided to settle down.
Nice.
So
at some point there was a component of long distance then, right? Either from Houston to Philadelphia, and for our listeners, that's like a 5-hour plane or 4 hours, so it's like pretty far. So that's, I guess, how the long distance started. But after Houston, at some point you went back to Accra, right? So
yes,
the distance was even further. It was from Accra to Philadelphia. How did you guys manage to go through that? How long was that long distance, by the way? 2 years, 3 years?
So we dated for 2 years before getting married, and even after marriage, we were still in a long distance marriage, if that's a word, for some time. Honestly, our relationship was built on friendship and trust. So that was a very good and solid foundation. And fortunately for me, I had the means of visiting from time to time. There were a number of projects going on here in the U.S., and the organization I worked for also required that employees and engineers and all took some number of hours of classes in terms of their professional development, and most of my classes were in Houston. So I would visit probably once every 3 months or once every 4 months, either on a work project or on career development assignment, and I'll take, let's say, a 1 week vacation or a 2 week vacation, visit Bridget, and then head back to Ghana. So that sort of eased it a bit in terms of the distance. And when my annual vacations also came around, I just took it, and I was here in the US spending the time with her. She also had an annual vacation where she would come home during Christmas most of the time, and that was how we managed it.
I see. Yeah. It's interesting because as time goes by, right, like people are more ambitious, so we see that a lot more often now, the long distance couples, either it's France, USA, France, Cameroon, France, Accra, USA, Canada. I mean, people have different versions of their long distance. And I know that a lot of couples break up just because they can't. There's always a reason, right? Either it's too much work, either, as you say, they're not as fortunate as you were to be able to see each other every 3 months. You said that your relationship is built on friendship and trust. Can you talk about your support system? So those moments where I'm sure it was like super tough sometimes. It could be a Friday night. It could be on the weekend you want to do something, but she's not there. What was your support system or support mechanism to remind yourself to keep on going and not just give up entirely?
So I'd say that the mentality, right? My mentality and the ideas that I had in terms of respect for my wife and respect for women in general, and the fact that we being married should not curtail her ambitions. She was in a PhD program, looking to become a medical scientist. I wasn't the one to curtail that ambition. So between us, we wanted to support one another to get to the heights that they wanted to get to. I don't know if I'm being clear, but that consciousness of pushing my wife, for that matter, it would have been any other woman, to get to their potential and not curtailing their dream because of love or because of marriage was something that was always at the back of my mind. It just shouldn't happen. One way or the other, we believe that, or it was our belief, or my personal belief, that eventually we would be together at some point, and this was just a passing phase. I had good work relationships with my colleagues in the office, so my Friday nights was mostly spent with them. So some were married. Most of them would come with their spouses and better house, and would have good conversations. And mind you, in the era of technology now, it's quite easier than writing letters that would take probably 2 weeks or 3 weeks to get to your partner abroad. With the touch of a phone, you could just speak to your partner wherever she was, or video calls. There's Skype, there's iPhone video. Like there were all of these, should I say, software packages available, which made communication very, very easy. And you could also see your partner, right? So pretty much she knew my routine. I also knew what her routine was, right? And I knew that, hey, in 2 or 3 months or in 4 months' time, I was going to see her again. So that also eased things. And I also had a lot of encouragement from my parents. My dad always told me no condition is permanent, right? Things may seem tough now, but it wouldn't remain the same till the end. It's just a period. If you're able to endure it, you'd smile at the end. So sometimes it may be an uncomfortable situation or something you may not have prepared for, but eventually things get better. Things would always get better. I'm very optimistic as an individual, right? I'm a half full guy rather than a half empty guy. So for me, that kept me going. And as you know it, I mean, I've been with my family now for the past 2 years, and we've been together here in the US.
I see. I really like that. There's a couple of points that I just want to sum up at it, because I think it's a powerful lesson. The first one, you talked about just the belief in your couple, in your wife, and doing everything not to temper her ambition. So you knew that if her realizing her dream through her PhD means long distance, then you'll have to suffer through that, which I think is obviously amazing. The second part you mentioned is obviously today technology, which helps you to get in touch with pretty much everyone easily, Skype, FaceTime, whatever. So you can talk on the phone, you can see each other, which is much more difficult than our parents, as you said, where they had to write letters and wait 2 or 3 weeks for the letter to be delivered. And the third part you said is your support system, which is a mix of your colleagues with who you have a good relationship, your parents, your family. And I want to add a last point that I'm sure you've been through. The long distance, as difficult as it is, having gone through that myself, it feels as if because you're not physically together, you have to even share more. That communication, that's something that was very interesting the moment Lena and I actually ended the long distance. Is we realized that sometimes being together, being with someone, there are things that you don't have to say, you don't have to talk, because you're just living through the same experience together. But the long distance, for some reason, pushes you to get to know each other even better, because you don't know what the other is doing, so you have to talk through it. And as talking through it, you talk about your feelings, how you experience something. So I feel like that long distance, as difficult as it is, it's very beneficial in the sense that I feel like it gets people closer faster than if they were on this. I don't know if you agree, but that's my experience.
Yeah, I do agree. Once you are together, the chances, there's the propensity to take certain things for granted, because you assume that because you live under the same roof, you have the same experiences, right? Which is erroneous, and sometimes it leads to conflicts amongst couples, right? But then when you find yourself in a long distance relationship, you and you're serious about it, right? You strive to get to know the person better. You strive to communicate properly and effectively. So there's nothing like, oh, I thought I mentioned this to you, right? You actually know you mentioned it, you know? Yeah, and again, it helps build that trust. It helps strengthen the relationship, and also strengthen the friendship, which is fundamental in any relationship in any way. So, yeah, indeed. I have experienced that. Would I want to go back to being in a long distance relationship? Maybe not. Perhaps not. I mean, for a good number of reasons. Now we have a child, a son between us, and I believe that it's important to have that presence of a father figure in his life, not constantly, but at least knowing that for my son to know that he has that much love from his dad, and that sense of security, I believe helps in the development of the child to a great extent.
Definitely. Oh yeah, long distance is good, but of course this context, when things changes. What may be good when you're 25 or 26 and just the two of you is different when there's a third party involved. And that's a good segue into Elliot, right? Your son.
Elian.
Elian.
Yes.
Oh, I always thought it was Elliot for some reason. Elian. Got it. Okay, sorry about that. So let's talk about his birth. Right? You became parents. You became a dad recently, but at his birth, things didn't go as smoothly as expected. In the fact that he was born, I think, 1 or 2 months before he was due. So can you walk us through your mindset at that time, the struggle of again seeing him born, of course, much smaller than what you used to see. Just walk us through what went through your mind, the difficulties, and how you, not just alone, but as a couple, you managed to go through that phase.
Yeah, so usually prematurity and all are things that most people or most Africans wouldn't feel comfortable sharing. And I think it's a disservice because once you're able to share your experiences, it helps others manage their expectations and makes it a bit easy for them to also live through those moments when it happens to them because they have a good appreciation of it just because someone had shared their experience. So with me, for instance, or with us, Elian came at 28 weeks. Fortunately for me, at the time, I had relocated here to the US, and the only support system we had was us, myself and my wife. We weren't expecting his birth. We knew it was going to come some months down the line, only to be told after a hospital appointment that you guys aren't going home, you're having your baby. Imagine the shock and the unpreparedness, and we didn't even have a cot.
Oh yeah, because even buying the furniture and everything.
Yeah, you didn't have nothing because you weren't expecting the baby to come then, right? So one, that was a bit of a shock, and secondly, because he came much earlier as well, he was preterm, much smaller in weight than the average baby, and we had to be in the NICU, that's the neonatal intensive care unit, for some time. Going through that was an interesting and difficult phase, if I want to summarize it, and that was because right after his birth, here in the US, women do not have too much of a maternity period. So Bridget had to quickly go back to her research desk, and we had to visit Elian like constantly. Morning, afternoon, evening, dawn, midnight. I mean, that was a task that we eventually enjoyed doing. We enjoyed holding hands and strolling together into the hospital. It became a good bonding period for us. So we actually saw him grow ever since. And even with his personality at such a young age, he always wanted to have his way. And he is also that assertive now, It was an interesting road.
What was going through your mind at that point? So you talked about the unpreparedness in the sense that, again, 28 weeks compared to the 9 month in average is definitely, so financially you're not prepared.
Materially
you're not prepared.
Mentally
you're not prepared. And as you said, you both had, you were still in business school at the time.
I hadn't started business school. I had gained admission, and I was waiting to go to business school.
School. And Bridget, your wife, she's the maternity leave is super short, so she has to go back to work. So what was going through your mind at that point is, I'm going to school, I have a baby, and you look at the baby, you know that the average weight or size. What type of fear were going through your mind, and how did you manage through that? Because as you said, your support system was basically the two of you, because the parents were both back home in Accra. So you're basically just the two of you, and you were going to Texas for business school. So what type of struggles and fear were going through your mind at that point?
Do you remember I shared earlier in the first episode that my upbringing and being in a boarding house and certain challenges that I experienced at the time I saw them as temporary situations, and I'm very positive that every situation would pass, like all shall pass, and I still had that, and I believe it was something that carried me through that phase, because I knew, okay, this was a temporary situation. We were fortunate to be in the U.S. We were fortunate to be in what they call a level 4 hospital. That's the University of Pennsylvania, Hospital of the University of Pennsylvania, sorry. And he was in the best of hands, right? But again, we also trusted God, right? We were very religious people, and we knew that he was going to pull through, and as much as possible, tried not to worry, because worrying wasn't going to improve the situation, but rather probably make it worse, or cloud your judgment or your emotions. You just find yourself probably sobbing or being in an ill-fitted emotional state, which wouldn't help either your wife or the kid. So it was very important for me to be, one, super positive, be the strength of the family, let the wife know that, hey, everything was going to be okay. This was just a temporary situation. So fortunately, Elian is a fighter. Yes, he came into the world much earlier than expected. And guess what? He also left the NICU much earlier than expected. And we went home with no equipment, no support equipment. The guy was good to go. We enrolled him in an early intervention program. And again, this is all thanks to God that we found ourselves here in the U.S. So there were all of those medical assistance and support for him, which was taken care of by the state. So he had physical therapy, he had speech therapy, and these were caregivers who came to the home to provide those services at virtually no cost to us. So all of that helped in his development. He was enrolled in a special babies clinic where extra attention was given to him. And if you see Elian now, I mean, it's amazing. He's grown up. He's 3 now. He's caught up in terms of his development. He's in daycare. He's just like any other normal kid, very inquisitive. He is very assertive, always wants to know what and why, and those are his 2 favorite words. And now he tends to tell me why he doesn't want to do something. I'm like, okay. I guess the democracy lives on. I just have to try and let him see my viewpoint, and trust me, it's difficult having a rational conversation with a 3-year-old. But I try.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, kudos to you and Bridget. Seriously, I can't even imagine like what that period was like. But as you said, I really believe no matter how hard it rains today, it will be sunny at some point tomorrow. So that positivity, that spirit, and as you say, just believing in God and putting your faith in Him, at the end of the day, ended up working well. So definitely difficult period. So thank you for sharing that. I want to close this part talking about your idea of being a dad. So as a man, the way I see the life of a man, we have a lot of responsibilities, right? You are a brother, you are a son, you are eventually an uncle, maybe a nephew, a cousin, a colleague, a neighbor, a friend. I mean, there's so many different roles. And now you become a dad. What does that role means for you, and what type of future do you see for Alien, and ultimately as an African, right, living in the US, how do you think about his identity? Because he will be born in the US, he's American, but he's African because you and Brit are African. So I know it's a tough question, but how do you combine your role as a dad and making sure that your son never forgets where he's coming from? It's an African.
So your question is in two parts. I'll take the first part about being a dad. Being a dad is a privilege and a responsibility, which I believe any man who wants a family should be ready for and consider it as a huge ask as well as a huge blessing placed on them. You are responsible for the upbringing of another individual. You are responsible for how they turn out in future. The responsibility may not lie alone on your shoulders because eventually your kids will pick their own personality, but there is a correlation between the sort of upbringing you give to your children and how they turn out in future. If you teach your kids to respect everybody, irrespective of their nationality, race, or physical proportions, they'll grow up to be very respectful individuals. If your kid sees you as a dad helping mommy out in the kitchen, helping mommy out with the chores, if your kid sees you out in the open trying to garden or fix something, if you sit with your kid, read to him every night before he goes to sleep, aside that connection that your kid has with you, you now begin to form his mental model about the world, the need for service, and the need to be a good citizen wherever you find yourself. So for me, being a dad, I see it as a great responsibility because I'm responsible for how my kid is going to turn up in future. Of course, I have my own experiences and what I think of the parenting style of my parents and what it is that I'd want to do differently. I'd want to teach my son about money and how money works. These are skills or qualities that aren't necessarily taught in schools, but I've been fortunate to have that formal training and also experience it because of the entrepreneurial nature of my parents and how they set themselves up to be able to give us the comfortable lifestyle that we enjoyed, right? As a parent, you also want your kid to go one step more than you did, right? And this can be in terms of education, in terms of what you think you should have achieved but probably could not achieve it. Let's say you want to be a writer, right? But for some reason you never became that renowned writer. You can encourage your child to read, encourage your child to write. Maybe he may take it up as a passion, but at the end of the day, that decision is his, right? So to the second part of your question, which is his identity, right? To a large extent, I have some influence over that, but again, it's his to choose when he grows up. Culture is borders on language, borders on food, borders on music. So I do listen to music from Ghana, right? But I wouldn't even know to call it typical African music because it's hip life. You have all these big Ghanaian artists, the Sarkodie's and the Shatawales and all of that. That is like probably close to American music, but then the tune, the beats, everything is different, right? It's more African, right? In terms of food, we mix and match, right? So he gets to experience some aspect of the culture back home as well. But as a parent, it's important to have him grounded in those African principles that have guided and guarded and nurtured me, right, to the point where I am now. It's important to instill and transfer those qualities to him. An example is being honest, having a high sense of integrity, being modest in your approach. No matter how much you have, you know that you've been blessed with what you have to be able to bless others with it. You know to be respectful to others, especially elders in the society, not just to your parents, right? So by giving him those or by exposing him to such an upbringing, I believe would shape his identity. Likewise, having him visit Ghana from time to time, and also whilst you're in Ghana, visit other parts of the country, because most people in the or most Westerners have a different perception of Africa. My wife was writing a book, or she's in the process of writing a story, her own story about Africa, and she's working with a copy editor, and one happens. Most of them are here in the U.S., and some feedback she receives was borders around, oh, I didn't know there was this much sophistication in Africa, right? People still have that mental model of Africa being backwards, being third world, and they wouldn't phantom seeing, let's say, a Tesla in the streets of Africa, for instance. So it's important for me to expose my son to Africa, to see that, hey, whatever is here in the US, you can find certain aspects of it in Africa as well. Likewise, we having our own unique culture and our own unique way of life and how we do things, and for him to appreciate that and appreciate that identity, because eventually when he grows up, he would be very fortunate, or he'll feel very proud to have that identity that he can relate to, of being an African, because they are such great African giants, the Nelson Mandelas, the Mo Ibrahims, the Thomas Sankaras. I mean, just name them. You can go on and on and on. And I know a few people, my wife inclusive. Her research was in liver diseases and how to come up with cures for them. One of her research, for instance, borders on the discovery of what they believe is the largest human organ from what people know, and that is going to change the way medical school books are even written. There are a number of Africans doing great things here in the US, right? So for him to be able to identify such individuals and identify with them, I believe he's going to feel very proud as African, and know that all is not bleak and gloom and black as we allow the media to portray it, just because we as Africans do not tell our story enough. We don't speak of the great feats that we've achieved. We don't speak of the great heights that we've achieved, right? We may have our own struggles, but through those struggles, we learn from it. We are blessed with huge natural resources and all. There are people doing amazing things in Africa. There are amazing tech companies in Africa. You have in Ghana, for instance, there's the SMSGH. In Nigeria, there's Andela? Is that it? Yeah.
Sourcing developers and companies. Yeah, there's a lot of, and I realize that, and I know we've talked about that before, but definitely even just conversation is, I think, part of that, right? Like the being able to have those role models, or to learn from Africans that either you know them or you don't know that, but you respect what they say, is something that when I look at what the youth the African youth, either on the ground or the diaspora, look at a lot of the role models are not Africans, unfortunately, right? They will talk of Nelson Mandela, but sometimes the discussion I have with like much younger people than us, the way they talk about Nelson Mandela, it's as if it's unattainable. Okay, the guy did 27 years in prison, that's just another level. And that idea that you don't need to be a Nelson Mandela to have a positive impact for you, your community. The simple fact, just your story or your wife's story, like the medical research that she's doing, I think just learning about that, she's a human being, right? What she's doing is obviously amazing, but her story, how she got there, I think we don't talk about that enough. I don't know about you, but me, for instance, I cannot tell you what my uncles, all of my uncles, what were their profession, because we don't talk about it much. As a child, I know what my mom did, what my dad did, but we always have that uncle that we know, okay, maybe he's rich or something, but you have no idea what he's doing. So those powerful role models, we were not in the habit of sharing those stories. Yes, part of it is because most of the way we transmit knowledge in Africa is oral, or we don't have that Occidental way of writing basically everything. Like, I don't know who told me about the numbers of books written by Africans up until today compared to the rest of the world. It's just ridiculous. And I think it's up to us to change that narrative, to talk about what we do, what we want to do, the Africa we want to see, and again, to bring it back to you, to transmit that knowledge or that identity or that vision and idea of the Africa we know to the next generation, right? Starting with your son. So thanks again, Jonas. We can end this part here, and the next part is going to be a bit as interesting as the two other parts because we'll go into specifically Africa. I'd like to know what does it mean for you to be Africans, your vision and idea of Africa. So I encourage the listeners to follow up and listen to part 3. So Ataraku to you for listening up to now, and talk to you soon.